between social media, AI, there's just such a gap of the human connection, of the human touch.
AI is like having an intern.
What are some of the challenges that you see ahead?
Well, that's definitely the first one, the one about critical thinking.
How would you redefine success beyond AI?
I think that the promise of AI is that AI will free humanity from mundanity.
The vision that is existing between applied intelligence and fundamental. So how would you enlighten us in that aspect?
The more intelligent you are, the more capable you are of doing all of these different roles. Fantastic.
Good evening. Welcome once again to another episode of Pivot Mode. Thank you for joining us. As always, our podcast is known to target and really put emphasis on issues and concerns and the hot topics that really target the Gen Z generation. The millennials are starting to really fall into that category as well, and the generations beyond. Because at the end of the day, what my goal and my mission and the mission of this podcast is simply to be a love letter to the generations to come, where we, from the generations way beyond, have tackled so many concerns and issues and topics and different scenarios in life that we can honestly and openly and wholeheartedly provide the younger generations with good advice and a roadmap that we wish we had. So in that spirit, I wanted to target the and it's very delicate because it is a good necessity, but that is very, very delicate in the sense of what it provides for this generation and how it can impact the generation in a good or questionable way. And that's AI. How AI has transformed our lives in the past couple of years is unimaginable. And to be in the presence of my guest tonight, who will delve in to this topic and have an open conversation as to the role AI plays in our lives, in the lives of the children that are brought up with it on a daily basis, and how AI has become part of our daily lives and how impactful it is in a good and concerning way. So without further ado, I would love to introduce my guest. But before I do, just want to give a little bit of background. An AI master, an author and video game enthusiast. He was featured recently in Forbes magazine. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Fahed Bizari.
Thank you so much, Valerie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, just a little background, just so that the audience can know how we connected. We joined Mission Tribe, and that's how we connected, and just great network gathering. And we shared a passion. And once we found that connection, I said, no, I have to have you on the show. I have to have you on the show because, as I said at the intro, this is my love letter to the generations younger than us, that we although they may be older in age, the number is there. We're talking about 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds who on paper have that age, but in experience, such as us, and what we've been through and what we've seen in life and the changes that are occurring, we're still here to provide them with the helping hand, with the guidance that they so need, but society feels that they're of age and they should be okay and in handling all of that. So what is your thought on that?
My thoughts, I mean, first of all, I have historically written letters to my children. So I've taken my experience and thought to myself, okay, that experience I've learned, I want to share it with my children. They're not necessarily ready for it yet. So let me write it down. And I have written many of those letters. I have to get back onto it, but I did for a very long time write those letters to my children. So we're 100% in sync in that.
Absolutely.
You know, historically, the way children were raised, school wasn't actually a thing. Once upon a time, school was not a thing. Children used to just hang around their parents and get stuck in with whatever their parents were doing. And they would be learning from their parents, and knowledge would be transferred from generation to generation. And I think, I don't know when the system kind of stopped, but now it's like each new generation has to start from scratch. And each new generation looks at the previous generation and feels like, oh, they're out of tune with the current generation. Let's just ignore them. And I will be the first person to admit that I have never listened to my father. And the one time I listened to my father, it turned into a massive success. And he was the one that said to me, Fahed, you need to teach people AI. And so when that opportunity came up, I heard my dad's voice in the back, and I was like, you know, I haven't listened to my dad in the 42 years of my existence. Let me listen to him. And it's paid off in a very, very, very big way. And so I've always thought, you know, my father, there's something about it. And I talk about this with my daughter as well. And I gave a graduation speech at a school a couple of months ago, where I said, it seems like children of the modern time have become allergic to listening to what their parents have to say. I said, it sounds like we have to do reverse psychology and say the opposite of what we want, just so that they would listen to us. But that's the challenge of the century, or the challenge of the generation we're in, is that young people are all learning again. It's like all the experience that has been built up in our lives and in the lives we've learned from, the books that we've read, etc. They're not getting it. And I think that's just a huge shame.
It is. It really is. And to be honest, I've 19 years in the hospice industry is what I carry with me. So I was able to hear the end of life stories and the regrets and all of the knowledge that you can gain from the generations before you. And to hear you say how that has dwindled and is slowly disappearing because the generations don't think we have enough to say, or don't see the similarity, or do not see the connection in what we have to offer.
And you know, I think on the back of that, one of the biggest issues I think children are going to suffer from, they're not even going to know they're suffering from it, is they're not going to read books. So I've read, you know, hundreds of books in my life, and with each book, you kind of get lost into a person's story and their journey and how they learned it. And let's just imagine a book in total takes 6 hours to read. In 6 hours, you've had a compression of that person's 40-year journey and a transfer of knowledge and experience over to you as the reader. Whereas now with AI, kids will just go, what's XYZ, blah, 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 and they get their answer, but they don't get that transfer. I did something recently, and I'd like to build this out into a product sometime, whereby I took a book, which I found quite difficult to read. It was called, it was a philosophical book, two Japanese authors. God, what is it called? Where it's called, I can't remember what it's called.
It'll come back.
But it was difficult to read. So what I did was I gave the book to the AI. And I said, look, I want you to be the author, and I want you to coach me through this. Don't let me proceed to chapter 2 until you've confirmed that I fully understood chapter 1, and we'll do the same thing continuously. And I want to make it in the context of my life and the reason I'm reading the book. And the reason I'm reading the book is XYZ. Now, because I'm an advanced AI user, I could think of that as a use.
Got it.
And I understand the value of books. I understand the value of getting lost in it and so on. So I wasn't looking for an answer. I was looking for the AI to make sure that I'm going through a transformation. But most kids will just look for an answer.
And that's exactly what I was getting from what you were saying, that the AI assisted you in getting that experience with the book and not just overshadowing that experience.
Yeah.
So do you feel that that is a hindrance in how AI is being used today?
I don't think it's a hindrance in how AI is being used, but I do think that Young people, I can talk about myself, I can talk about my kids. And I think that this is the way that kids are fundamentally wired, is that they look for shortcuts by default. And I think it's actually a good thing. I think they're wired to find better ways of doing things than the previous generation did. And I think that's how progress happens from generation to generation. I think it's a great thing. The problem is when they're going for the answer at the expense of the journey, even though it's development that's important. The answer is not important. What's important is the journey. So, for example, I've just had 3 of my kids. I have 5 kids, right? I've had 3 of my kids. One of them just graduated from university. One of them just finished her A-levels. One of them just finished her GCSEs. And I was kayaking with the GCSE one. And she wasn't very happy with her grades. And I said, look, darling, within a couple of years, no one's going to care about your GCSE grades. In actual fact, you got to think about your GCSE as a trial run for your A-levels. So if you're unhappy with this, you got to think, what could you do differently to make sure that you do better for your A-levels? And when you do, no one's going to care about the GCSEs. So there's a journey and there's a learning that takes place through the journey. And when all you care about is the answer and the AI can give you that answer, you're being deprived of the journey. So young people are being deprived of the journey that actually would transform them as people.
Yeah. And they're too young to realize that.
Absolutely.
They're too young to realize that. And speaking of journey, I love the way you transition into that, because what I'd like to kind of put a little bit of emphasis on is critical reasoning, right? Is that being lost in the process as well?
Definitely.
Right? As a core skill.
Definitely.
Right?
So the basis of critical thinking and critical reasoning in the context of AI is having that personal experience without AI. So keep things simple, if you know what a good email sounds and reads like, when you see an AI written email, you can see that it's off and you know how to steer it back on. Now amplify that to be a report, or amplify that to be a solution or a strategy or a plan. I'll give you a very common example, which maybe you've experienced as a podcast host working with AI, where maybe you're trying to plan out a podcast and it will say, for the first 5 minutes, do this, and the next 10 minutes, do this. So its timings are completely off. It's just waffling its way, coming up with timings that sound reasonable. But if you're an experienced person, you'll know these timings are off. In fact, in Mission Visible, somebody came up with a 12-month plan created by ChatGPT. And I looked at the plan. I was like, why is this a 12-month plan? This can be done in 2 weeks. But ChatGPT was presenting it as a 12-month plan. I have the outside experience to know that this doesn't need 12 months, it just needs 2 weeks. Whereas a young person or anybody who's been deprived of that experience has no counterbalance with the AI to basically say the AI is off, because the AI is not a perfect system. Especially right now, it's very imperfect. They're trying to make it better and better, continuously improve it, but it is off a lot of the time. And if you don't have that critical thinking, then how can you make that balance to keep it on? The place you get that critical thinking is real world experience. So if you don't have real world experience, then how are you going to do it? And I'll give you an example that happened very recently with my son, 12 years old. So I've just come back yesterday from a 5-week holiday with my kids. And, the way that we do our holidays is that we create a database of all the different things that we want to do. And then every day we're kind of picking and choosing what we want to do. We plan the week ahead. We're like, on Monday we'll do this, Tuesday we'll do that, and so on. And one of the things that's easy to do with your kids is to go to the cinema. So I asked my son, can you go and see what's on in the cinema? Let's make a short list so that we can plan some cinema trips. And he came back, and we have a shared Notion. I'm not sure if you know about Notions. We have a shared Notion page where we put all this stuff in. So he pasted the most beautiful table with all the films and the age rating and the IMDb rating and so on. And he was very proud of himself for having done it.
Impressive.
Very impressive. We were all impressed. But then I was like, hold on a second, where's Superman? Hold on a second, where's How to Train Your Dragon? Hold on a second, where's this? Where's that? So he had actually used AI to produce this. And AI had produced a beautiful looking table, but it was missing some of the films that are out there in the cinema. Now, because we're adults, we're seeing these adverts all over the place and so on. we've kind of got a better sense of what's in the cinema than he does as a 12-year-old. So he wasn't aware that these films are out there in the cinema. He's trusted the AI, and he himself has brought no counterbalance to say, okay, it looks gorgeous. It has the IMDb ratings, has all of these things, but it doesn't have all the films. What's the point in having a beautiful output, right? On the surface is beautiful, but it's missing substance. And it's missing the most vital substance, which is the films that are actually there. You know what I mean? So critical thinking is absolutely vital, and there's a ginormous danger. In fact, it's already started, that children are being deprived, or young people are being deprived of the very things that will give them that critical thinking.
Yeah, and you hit it on the ball by saying that something as simple as choosing today's movies was completely neglected by AI because it does not know. It does not know. And the reliability that this generation has on it is alarming a little bit because because of that critical thinking, they don't know to separate the two or to add on to it. And that's where we adults come in to try to navigate them. Because as an educator myself, I'm teaching a health and sports science class. Of course, my students' projects are going to incorporate AI. It's my duty and my responsibility to help them navigate through that. So in that spirit, what are some of the challenges that you see ahead?
Well, that's definitely the first one, the one about critical thinking. The big challenge here is that right now, and I think in my opinion, this is the biggest challenge. And I say this as the father of a girl who's just graduated from university. I think the number one challenge, if you think about the corporate ladder, the first rung has been taken out. So you've got 20 rungs of a corporate ladder, but they can't get on the first one because it's been taken away. The situation we have at the moment is that AI is eliminating the first round of jobs that it's eliminating is the junior jobs, right? People, if you hear them, they're like, oh yeah, AI is like having a junior worker. AI is like having an intern. AI is like, that's what people say. And even in our training programs, we sometimes say that as well. We encourage people when we're doing our training, we encourage businesses and professionals to think of AI as a co-worker that is senior in capability, but junior in responsibility. So you can tap into all of its amazingness, but you have to know that you're the one who's responsible for the outputs that it produces, and they're being attached to your name. So even we talk about it as being a selfless intern, as a coworker, and so on. So if it's being used as a junior worker and it's being used as an intern, then what about all those junior working jobs and those internships? And the statistics are showing already in America and in the UK, where the research has been done, that from the time ChatGPT was released until today, the number of junior job listings, but that's one way to measure, is to actually measure job listings. Junior job listings have dropped by about 30%. Huge consultancies like BCG, PwC, all of these big guys, they're reducing their junior jobs also by about 25%. And we're guilty of this as well as a company. I'll be totally honest, right? We planned earlier this year, at the beginning of the year, we planned to have a summer internship program. And we kept on postponing it because you have to put effort into building an internship program that's going to be special. It's going to produce results for us, but it's also going to be special for the young people. We kept on postponing and procrastinating it until we reached about May. And at that point, we actually concluded, and I feel sad to say this on your podcast, at that point we concluded, you know what? Forget about this intern program. AI can do all of those tasks for us. If we're going to do this intern program, this is us kind of doing charity for these students rather than using the students to get our work done. So the honest truth is most intern programs were selfishly driven. A company had lots of grunt work to do, so they hired young people to do it. And then in cooperation with the university, they made it, a fair exchange that we'll also be kind of grooming your young people for the industry. But now it's like that's been taken away. So that is the number one issue that we have in front of us is because the grunt work that used to be given to young people, which would cultivate that critical thinking and so on, that's being taken away. So where are they getting the experience? The second one, if you don't mind me continuing,
Please.
the second one is in education itself. If students are using AI to do all of their work, they're graduating without education. They're going through a 3-year education program where at the end of it, they don't actually have an education. They may have got first class, 4.0, they may have got the top grades in all of the subjects, but they don't actually fundamentally understand their topics deeply. They didn't work on the case studies deeply because they just passed it on to the thinking of the AI. Do you know what I mean? And a third thing, which is anxiety. When a person is in a state of anxiety, they don't perform very well. They don't think clearly. They're not motivated. They get depressed. They get sullen and so on. And I think that a lot of young people are feeling a lot of anxiety about the future of their future employability. You know, if they're seeing that AI is increasing in capability and, you know, especially at university level, where universities still haven't caught up with the realities of AI, kids are smart. They're looking at their work and they're like, AI can do this. The teacher's talking about X, Y, Z, and you have to do it like, but the AI can do this. So they're actually kind of falling into a type of state of depression, a type of state of anxiety, which they're not graduating with motivation and excitement, and they don't have the internships to jump into or the junior jobs to jump into. So they're being deprived of everything they need in order to approach AI with critical thinking.
Oh, no, you hit it on the mark. You hit it on the mark in the sense that my struggle is to understand or to express the division that is existing between applied intelligence and fundamental, you know, and fundamental or foundational intelligence. And that gap that is slowly existing is so alarming that conversations like this are necessary. So how would you enlighten us in that aspect?
So I think the first thing for your listeners and your watchers is to understand the different types of intelligence. And now we're talking about human intelligence. So humans have two types of intelligence. I'm sure they have many types of intelligence, but in this context, we're talking about foundational intelligence, right? That's the intelligence you have internally that you could apply anywhere. So you've got this foundational intelligence that you can apply in podcasting. You can apply in your role as a parent. You can apply in your role, whatever role you're doing. So the more intelligent you are, the more capable you are of doing all of these different roles. Fantastic. Applied intelligence is the application of that intelligence in those roles. So let's just say, for example, now, you want to put together your first business. You can now use AI to figure all sorts of things out. You can use AI to figure out who your target is, your target audience, the problems that you're going to solve, how are you going to solve them, and so on. But you're steering the AI, and it's not your personal experience that you're going through. So instead of your foundational intelligence growing, your foundational intelligence is actually shrinking. The sad part is your applied intelligence is multiplying hundreds of times. People can now do things with AI with 100 times more effectiveness, efficiency, and so on than they could before. But take that AI away, and I'm guilty of this. They can't remember what's that word. Like earlier on in the conversation, I couldn't remember the name of the book. Yeah. All right, I've remembered it now. It's called the Courage to be Disliked. That's the name of the book.
Got it.
Right? But because taking this as an example, AI can produce magical reports, magical articles, magical strategies, magical plans. It's connecting the dots together. I'm not connecting the dots. I'm just steering it. I'm just giving it the rules to follow. I'm checking in on it and so on. But I'm not the one that's connecting the dots. It's connecting the dots. So I'm losing my ability to connect the dots. Right? Language is all about stringing words together. So if the AI is the one now stringing the words together, I'm struggling to and the honest truth, I don't know what the solution is. I honestly don't know what the solution is. We need to find a solution. And there are some people that are gambling on the idea of let's just throw everybody in the deep end and we're hoping that a solution will come out on the other side. And the other people that are saying, okay, let's not go to the deep end until we have a solution. And that's where we're at.
Yeah. And to hear you, an AI master that I so hold with such esteem, be vulnerable and honest enough to say, I don't know the solution, is such a wake-up call. And it's such an ode to the reality that we're facing. So I thank you for that. I thank you for that vulnerability, because it comes from gurus like you to speak that truth, because it's such a hidden truth that there is some concern behind all of this. And as a father, as a person in the field, to express that concern is, I'm grateful for it, to be honest. As a teacher, I am so grateful, because we, the lay people, hear you say that, understand the magnitude and greatness of artificial intelligence, but also the concerns that lie in between. It's good to know that we can have these conversations.
And where we learned this, I mean, I had my own personal experience. I found myself with my team continuously like saying, that's the word. Like, I'd be like, what's that word again? And even one day I sat there to record a vlog where I wanted to explain this, and I couldn't even, in the vlog, I couldn't remember a certain word that I wanted to use. And quite often it's not abnormal to forget a word, right? But what is abnormal is that you can't even explain what the word is to remember the word. Like, the dots are really not dotting, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So that was my own personal experience. So myself and another researcher from Zayed University, we went and did a systematic literature review to find out if this is being covered anywhere else in the world. And we did. And we concluded that, and we have to do this for corporates, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are paying for the research, and they're the ones that care about research and so on. And what we concluded on the back of this was that all companies are rushing in now to multiply the applied intelligence of their workforce. And they're getting 100x efficiency, effectiveness, cost savings, etc. But at the same time, if they're eating away at their workforce's foundational intelligence, come 3, 4, 5 years from now, AI is going to be the boss in that company, and people are not going to know what to do. Now, sometime back, this goes back to about maybe 2 years ago, where this was the start of the AI boom, and people were like wondering about kind of the Terminator scenario. And I said, look, I'm not scared of the Terminator scenario. I'm not scared of robots roaming the earth and the rebellion fighting against them. What I'm scared of is we get to a point where human beings are like, you know what, the AI is more intelligent than us, so let's just let it decide. And that's what's going to happen. The more and more that foundational intelligence is taken away, is that people will just start handing the reins over to the AI and just let the AI decide, let the AI decide, let the AI decide. And that's going to be a disaster for everyone.
Yeah. Now, do you foresee that?
I still do, yeah. I still do foresee it. And I've seen it. I see it every day. You see it now on LinkedIn, where people are posting things that they think is an efficiency gain because they were able to write this magical LinkedIn post. But the audience are going, oh, that's AI, I'm not even going to read it.
Right? To my daughter, actually, she said, and I didn't even know this, and this is a wake-up call for parents, where we think we're getting it right. We think we are in tune. And, you know, the generation just drops something on you. I didn't know that her generation was labeled the lonely generation.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I associate that with AI as well. Between social media, AI, there's just such a gap of the human connection, of the human touch, that through this podcast, I'm trying everything in my power to mend. But to hear that generation say that they're labeled as the lonely generation tore me apart.
Let me give a message for your listeners, whether they're from the young generation, from the old, from a personal story. Last year, again, we're on holiday, and my kids are asking me questions. My oldest daughter specifically is asking me a question. And my answer was, just ask ChatGPT. She asked me another question. Just ask ChatGPT. Because I know ChatGPT is going to give a much better answer than me, right? I in the very early days, going back to 2022, when I was still doing some consulting work, not AI consulting, other consulting, I had clients contact me. By that time, this is December 2022, I'd been using ChatGPT for only a few weeks, but I was able to get consulting level outputs from it. And I was just telling my clients, I was like, listen, instead of me trying to answer this for you, let me just show you how to do it through ChatGPT. Because I don't feel right that you're going to pay me for things that you can get things quicker and it's the same level. So let me show you how. So I'm doing this with my kids. I'm saying, ask ChatGPT. But they keep on coming back to ask me. They still haven't learned this idea of ask ChatGPT. And then it hit my head. And this is the lesson which I want to share with your audience. It struck me and I asked her, I said, darling, are you asking me because you want to know and you want the answer? Or are you asking me because you want to connect? And she said, I want to connect. I said, oh, I'm so sorry, darling. Wait 1 second. Close the laptop. Yes, darling, let's talk. What was that question again?
Oh my God.
And so now it's not even about the answer. It's just about connecting. Yeah. And so then it became a kind of running joke in the holiday, and I still joke about it today. When she asks a question, I'd be like, do you want the answer or do you want to connect? You're like, I want to connect. I'm like, okay, fantastic, darling. Let's talk. Let's connect. Or sometimes she goes, I want the answer. I'm like, okay, let's just ask ChatGPT together or whatever. Let's structure. I'll show you how to structure the question to get the results out. So young people have to develop self-awareness that I need connection. And I'm with my daughter at the moment, and she's asking me fabulous questions. She asked me a question. We went to the night beach last night, and she said to me, Dad, what's that one memory that's like your favorite memory in your whole life? So now it's like she's asking me questions which are more connection questions, and then we went into a whole thing and so on. And for parents, God, even though ChatGPT may be able to give a better answer than you, please, dear God, don't send them to ChatGPT. Don't. Make that connection. Take that opportunity to connect with them and build that connection, because that's actually what they want. They want that connection.
Absolutely. And just don't know how to put it in words.
Exactly.
If you did not introduce the word connection, right? Do you
she
want to
wouldn't
connect?
know.
She wouldn't have known. She wouldn't have known. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. So now with future work, right? Just like you said earlier, internships in the age of AI, suffering, right? To entry-level jobs, almost gone. We're pushing the kids to continue their education. We're giving them that hope, and completing uni is the way to go. And they're facing these challenges when they do graduate. So the level of uncertainty, the level of just, I don't know how to word it without incorporating the loneliness again, right? That they feel so lonely in their own industries, that they went to university for, they have the book knowledge, but it's just the uncertainty of the future is so prevalent that parents cannot comfort them. We cannot find the ways to honestly say everything is going to be okay. And that's what really, really, puts a knife through my gut, because I cannot say, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Although we, with the experiences that we have in adulting, we know eventually things will fall into place. But to convince a young mind that everything will be okay and for them to truly believe it is so hard these days. So with you having 4 beautiful children, how are you navigating through those conversations and being authentic in the process?
So 5 children.
Yes.
So my journey into AI actually began with exactly this, where we were using GPT, which is the underlying tech before ChatGPT. But on December the 1st, 2022, my eldest daughter came to me and she said, Baba, what's the point of me continuing with education with now the AI reaching this level? I said, what are you talking about? She goes, please, just ChatGPT. I thought at that time, I thought ChatGPT was for kids because we were using GPT, which was a bit more technical and so on. And then when I looked at it, I told her, listen, give me some time to think about this and I'll come back to you. Because I couldn't say at that time until I understood it. So what I can do is I in terms of my kids, the different things which I'm teaching them and I'm saying to them. So first of all, with regards to the challenge of losing internships and junior jobs, push the kids aside for a second and let's just talk about the future of work. With AI existing in the world, where AI's intelligence has already superseded human intelligence, where we exist with the AI now is to steer that intelligence, right? So just like a horse can run faster than a human being, if you want to go from A to Z, you would jump on a horse. So the horse can run faster than you, so learn to ride the horse, or a car in modern terms. The car can go faster than you, learn to drive a car. The challenge is that AI that we have today is what we call general purpose AI. So ChatGPT can be used to create a strategy for your podcast business. It can be used to create a strategy for your marketing business. It can be used as your strategy for improving your social circle. It can be used as something to help you with your romance. It can be used for anything and everything. What that means is that the future of work will mean the work available will consolidate into the hands of people that know how to use it. And the reality is that people who don't, if they're in work that doesn't need AI, so very physical jobs, but knowledge work, it will be knowing how to use AI. And one person will be able to do lots of different things. That's a very entrepreneurial approach to life. Entrepreneurs are very good at being able to do lots of things. So what I have now is I've encouraged my daughter, and she's bought into it very much. She has been doing PA work during her university years to earn money on the side. And if you think about it, VA work, virtual assistant work. If you think about it, virtual assistant work is very much kind of like interning, where you're doing all sorts of bits and bobs here and there, but you're getting paid for it. So I've encouraged her now that she's graduated from university and she has more time, instead of going ahead and trying to apply for jobs that she feels are shrinking and she feels like applying for jobs is pointless, I've told her, take on that entrepreneurial spirit and start looking for more and more VA opportunities that allow you to get more and more experience of the real world without the world handing them to you. So you go out there. There are people in the world that are happy to give you tasks like here and there to build out your skill set. And I also did that with my son, who has not done any VA work. And he's now got 3 clients as a university. He's still in his second year, but he now has 3 clients that he's doing all sorts of different work for. So he's doing his studies, but he's also doing VA work. Then for the younger kids, what I'm explaining to them is that, look, you have to learning at the GCSE, A-level, and university levels is not just about learning a specific subject. Many people have gone to university, learned a subject, but when they actually got to the work industry, they've gone and done something else altogether. The main thing through the education system is learning to learn. Learning to learn, learning to organize yourself, and your studies are just a game. The idea of grades and whatever, you got to think about it like a video game where you're trying to get the highest score and you're competing with yourself to get that highest score. You have to choose which subjects are you going to do. You have to wake up in the morning. You have to do your homework. You have to do your coursework. You got to think about it like a game where you're equipping yourself for the new world that you will be entering. And the people who have learned that the best are the ones that are going to do the best in the post-education world, in industry. It's not about your subject. It's about your skill set and your ability to think and your ability to adapt and your ability to study and your ability to now take on a new topic. And we actually built this out within our consultancy. We came up with a strategy called, and this is me forgetting about words, right?
Listen.
We called it something like the solo commando strategy, where you as a graduate should be able to take on any job. Like a job has been given to you. Now you go into the AI and you ask the AI, tell me all about this job. Tell me, what do I need to know? Tell me, what do I need to understand? And now I'm going to create you as my partner as I go into this job so that you and I can discuss these things. And we call it the commando strategy. I just remembered. So the commando strategy, and it's working. Like within the people that we hire, they're able to learn these new topics very easily because now they've got this AI companion, but they have that intelligence to manage themselves, right? So that's, I think, a big thing. That's what I tell my kids is just, you're not in school or university specifically to learn a subject. You're learning to learn. And if that subject a few years from now is being done by AI, it doesn't matter. You've learned how to learn. You can learn new things as the market changes.
Yeah.
You've learned how to get yourself together, be on time, wake up in the morning, organize yourself, and you can now take that energy and that skill set and funnel it to whatever comes in front of you.
Exactly.
So my daughter, she was just in a gathering now, and she was mentioning to somebody that she does VA work, and they said to her, well, we have a BNI group, and we're always looking for a VA to join our group. So we got in the car and I said, darling, she said she wants you to join the meeting on September the 3rd. September the 2nd is your deadline to get your website ready, get your QR code business cards ready, etc., etc. And that's now what she's doing at home. She's now using her skill set of getting things done to do this. And she learned that by putting herself together at university.
Brilliant, brilliant. And which ties into my next question. The new resume is what I labeled it as, where, it's going to be a different approach on how this generation markets themselves, right? And how they need to empower themselves professionally. It's going to be a totally different ballgame, more so than how we were, brought up to do it. And your example with your daughter hit it on the mark, because she had to kind of pivot and figure out a new way with all the skills that she gathered. This is a new way for me to present myself as a new resume. It's not the old way anymore, where it's just university, the degree you walked out with, no matter how many certificates that are attached to your name. There has to be a new way of them formatting their resume and how they sell themselves.
Well, let me tell you two things. So one of our clients in the UK that we're doing AI transformation with them as a company, they said to me that every single resume they're receiving now are all identical. And we can guess why. And these young people that are creating the resumes are feeling so happy with what they produced. I remember my son did this in the start of 2023. He said, Baba, I used ChatGPT to make this job application for this internship. And I looked at it and I was like, you do realize that everybody else is submitting something that reads and sounds just like this. He's like, really? I'm like, well, if you use ChatGPT to do it, what makes you think other people are not using ChatGPT to do it? So that's the first thing, which is the traditional resume is in trouble. Another part of the fact that the original resume model is in trouble is that a lot of resumes now are being read by AI.
Yes.
Right? So AI is reading the resume to identify whether this person should be taken to the next level or not. And there are laws in Europe, and it will spread around the world, to prevent the AI from being biased in that regard. And this is one of the things that we explain when we're teaching responsible AI to companies. We're explaining to them that one of the consequences of not using AI properly is that the AI may reject applicants that are really good for the job, because the AI misunderstood things or didn't do things the way that they should, because they weren't programmed properly. At the end of the day, what employers care about the most, hands down, is experience. That's what they care about the most. If you give somebody with 10 years experience, but zero education. In fact, who did I ask? I was doing a training program, and the head of marketing, I put her on the spot and I asked her, so your education, you were educated in marketing. She goes, well, actually, no. Fantastic. I mean, she managed to become the chief of marketing at this ginormous school, and she didn't learn marketing at university. So that proves that what people care about actually is experience. So young people can get experience. And that's what's with this thing about the VA stuff. My kids can now go to people and say, yeah, I've got 3 years of VA experience. I've been assisting this person in this field, this person in this field, this person in this field. So they'll say, okay, this person must be a grown up, mature, can handle themselves, that they can work with, adults. Let me give them a chance. So that really is the resume of the future, is experience. And a lot of the people that are saying, and I've heard this from Alex Hormozy and a few other people, they're saying, look, what you should do as a graduate, if you want to get into video, contact some people and just say, look, I'll do your video for free. Just so that they can have case studies to show other people. And that's it. Now their engine starts running. Now they can get more and more projects because they did some stuff for free and they get experience. So if you were to ask me, what should the resume of the future be? And I'm talking to young guys, I would say, do your best to get real world experience. If necessary, do it for free. And don't feel like you're shortchanging yourself by doing stuff for free. That's the price you pay at that age. When I was telling my son to do internships when he was, and to work in charities when he was 16 and 17, he didn't see the value. He goes, well, this is just like I'm being treated like a slave. Now, as a 19-year-old, he applied for a job at McDonald's, and McDonald's rejected him. And he always thought that McDonald's would be his fallback. So McDonald's rejected. He was like, oh my God, this is a disaster. I thought it was going to be, I was like, yeah, you need to have experience for people to take you seriously. He goes, Baba, now I understand why you were telling me to do internships for free when I was 16 and 17 was in preparation. I said, yeah, exactly. So in terms of the resume of the future, I definitely would say it's experience. In the past, it used to be considered as a bonus that this kid has done some internships, has done some voluntary work, etc. But for the future, that is the resume. So young people should be getting as many opportunities, and young people need to be taught the stuff that we're learning now in our 30s, 40s, and 50s about getting out of your comfort zone. Because children will hide behind their mother's leg to avoid shaking hands with that other person. And that continues into their teens and so on. And I think if schools and colleges were to have something like a really good subject to teach them is about comfort zones and getting out of your comfort zone, because they're scared of the adult world, but that fear is actually holding them back from getting the experience, which is the resume of the future.
Yeah, so beautifully put. And it's so relevant because, as I see, as a mother, I see it, and as a teacher, I see it with my students. So we have the graduating class coming up, and that's my fear for them, that staying behind the comfort zone, which was the title of my first episode, ironically, just to get this conversation started, to make that generation just, shake off the anxiety, shake off the fear, and just jump in and believe that we will be behind them, helping guide them. As we wrap up, just want to tap into one last positive twist into all of this. So redefining success beyond AI, right? To help give that generation the light at the end of the tunnel. So how would you redefine success beyond AI?
So success, wow, it's very good. How would I redefine success? I think that the promise of AI is that AI will free humanity from mundanity. And it will free humanity from doing things that are distracting them from what they actually want to do. You know, so a person wants to spend time in the outdoors. A person wants to, develop their physical fitness or their spiritual fitness, etc. And there's two sides to the coin. One of them, which is that maybe that mundanity actually is what gave human beings meaning. You know, the challenges of, that you have to overcome and so on. The fact that you have to wake up for a job at 8 a.m. is what makes you sleep early at night. And if you don't have a job at 8 a.m, then why should you sleep early at night? And therefore, maybe there's a risk that you're going to stay awake all night. But the other side of it is, well, if you don't have a job to go to, then and you have, universal basic income or whatever the solution is going to be, then maybe now you can actually develop those things that you want to develop. And the general consensus amongst the developers of AI, the investors in AI, the creators of AI, the general consensus is there will be a few years of turbulence as we shift from capitalism to a new model. And this period will be turbulent for everybody because the new model still hasn't been defined. But the idea is that the new model will be better than the old model. It just takes a bit of time to adjust from the old model to the new one.
And we just need to prepare for that and be strong enough to handle it. This has been so enlightening. I have a tradition with the way we close out our podcast. So what I do is I throw fire words at you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you have the opportunity to say one thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
And as the brilliant man that you are, before I continue, I cannot thank you enough.
My pleasure.
For blessing my podcast with your presence. This conversation was so needed. I know that the viewers are going to benefit from them, from our conversations, in different angles. Different generations are going to really, really benefit from it. From us being parents to teenagers living right now, and then to the Gen Zs that are facing the reality in the job force. So I cannot thank you enough.
My pleasure.
Are you ready for your words?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Augmentation.
Power.
Displacement.
Overcome.
Resilience.
Build.
Authenticity.
Priority.
Good. Lastly, technological disruption.
We will win.
Oh, I needed to hear that. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure.
Once again, it has been a pleasure. You are now family. So whenever you feel the need to come share some goodness with us, please do not hesitate.
Will do.
You know where to reach me.
Thank you so much.
You're stuck with me. Just thought you should know.
Thank you so much, Valerie.
You're welcome. You're welcome. As always, it's been a pleasure sharing this knowledge, this love, this authentic and needed conversation with you, my viewers. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, please, if you want to continue to hear great conversations like this, real conversations like this, do not hesitate to subscribe, to share, to comment. And we will see you next time. Thank you for joining.